Hi. Yesterday, I forgotten to start recording for this for CSS inheritance. So actually we have covered this in the batch, but I have forgotten to start the recording. Well, what is a CSS inheritance? If you wanna explain, you can explain. Otherwise, anyways, I'm going to revise it. CSS inheritance. Uh-huh. Properties is? Uh-huh. Yeah. Look at the screen. I will explain again. So when you talk about CSS inheritance, remember that CSS follows a mechanism by which certain properties of an element are passed down from its parent element to the child element. And as an example, we have seen this thing. So this is an interview type question. Interviewer will ask you, what would be the color of let's check inheritance paragraph? So there is a paragraph. We have written P, and there are two classes, parent and child. Parent is given to the div, and paragraph and child is assigned to the paragraph. And if you see here, we have not written anything inside child, or you can say that is commented. So in this case, what would be the color of paragraph? What would be the color of paragraph? And generally people say it would be black, because inside child we have not written anything. But CSS doesn't work in this way. CSS works on the principle of inheritance. So few properties from the parent are inherited to the child. So color would be red. So color would be red, right? That's what we have seen yesterday. So whenever we say color, in the child there is nothing. Hello? But still, as parent is having blue color. Parent is having blue color. That's why the paragraph will get blue color to the let's check inheritance. Right? Then inheritance, it is not that for everything it will work. So we have seen for the border also, right? We have seen, so this color gets inherited. This color gets inherited. So color of the parent gets inherited to the child, but border will not be getting inherited. Let's see the output first. Yesterday we have seen all these things, but mistakenly I have not started recording. That's why I'm revising it again. Yeah, can you see the color of let's check inheritance is blue, and if you see the border color is red. Here again if you go, border color is red over here. Now if you can see, the color property gets inherited to the paragraph, color property, but border is not getting inherited, right? If I enable this border, if I enable this border, you will see how much is the paragraph. This much is the paragraph border, which means that certain properties are getting inherited and certain are not, right? So the properties which are related those properties gets inherited. Related properties gets inherited. So that's what we have written. This concept allows you to define the styles at the higher level in the HTML hierarchy and have those styles automatically apply to the nested elements. So this concept allows you to define the styles at the higher levels in the HTML hierarchy and have those styles automatically apply to the nested elements, reducing the need to repeat the style definitions, right? So inheritance applies to the properties that have natural relationship, natural hierarchical relationship, such as the font styles, text colors, text alignment. However, not all properties are inheritable. Some properties like border, padding are not inherited. That's what we have seen. See, the color gets inherited to the paragraph, but border doesn't get inherited to the paragraph. There is no relation, right? So this border and this border is different. That's why inheritance doesn't work. Then we had seen inheritable properties. That's what the related properties are gets inherited. Properties that are not inheritable do not pass their values to the child elements. For example, border, padding and other things. So inheritable properties, non-inheritable properties. Inherit keywords. Inherit keyword. If you remember, we have used a lot of time inherit keyword, like font size. Inherit. So it will inherit from the parent. This is also so behind the scene CSS inheritance work. So behind the scene of this inherit keyword, CSS inheritance work. So whatever we have discussed, that works. Then overriding the inherited value. So then we had seen this thing. So here color is blue. If you don't give any color, let's check inheritance is in blue. If you don't give any color, let's check inheritance is in blue. But you can override that. You may change it to the red. Can you see? That is nothing but what? Overriding. That is nothing but what? Overriding the CSS values, right? So this part didn't get recorded yesterday, that I have covered. Now, so we have seen the scroll bars also yesterday, and we have seen the WebKit properties. Scroll bars and WebKit properties. Am I audible? Hello? Yes. Okay. Now let's go ahead with one topic, custom fonts. If you see here in fonts, I have created one thing using custom fonts, but we didn't implemented it, right? Hello? Yes. So when you talk about the fonts, we have seen what do you mean by fonts and different variants about the fonts we have seen, correct? Now just a minute. So how do we use the custom font? Let's try to download some font. Let me go here. Let's try to download some font. Go to the Google and search free fonts. Can you see? Some fonts like this. We have any font you can select, say cartoon. Let's have this Super Mario or this Pokemon. Let's download this. On the desktop, I am pasting this. you may go to the desktop, and here you can see the font. Here you can see the font. So we have this font with us. Okay. This is the hollow and this is the solid. Let's try this one. Rename PK hollow HL, and I'm copying this font now. Copy in our project. Web development, and let's create a new folder, day 11, and inside this I'll paste this. I already have open day 11 and pkhl.ttf. Okay, downloaded the font from internet. Now here we can go and create fnt.html or fnt.html, fnt.html, and here you can say fnt.css, html, not here, in the html file, html5, custom font. Okay. Now just a minute. So here we have pasted the font. Now in the CSS, what we need to do, at font face, we have downloaded at font face. Font family, we can say my font family, my font, src url, so here we need to give a url. Can you see pkhl.font? Then format ttf. Can you see format is ttf? Source, one attribute URL, then format. And if you say that again, yeah, it's a font format. So it's standard font format which is used to express the fonts, true type fonts. When you say TTF, what is that? True type. Yeah, true type fonts. So this is one format like JPEG or PNG. Fonts are expressed in TTF. Hello? Yeah. So Apple and Windows both have created this font. Now, next thing, just to apply the font in the HTML, here we can say paragraph hello world, and to the paragraph we need to apply font family, custom font, or here you can give my font. We can give name as my font. Now day 11 fnt.html, css imported or not? Not imported. Link rel css fnt.css. To the p font family, okay. Okay, so if you see here, I was writing ttf over here. That was the mistake. So instead of ttf, what we need? True type. And if you see, you got the font whatever you expected. Here you can say font size 2em, font size 2em. Can you see hello world? And something in other format. So how do you load, or how do you work with the custom fonts? At font face attribute. At font face attribute. So when you say at font face attribute, we create our own font by means of at font face attribute. We create our own font, right? And those fonts can be used like this. That was about using the custom fonts. So using the custom fonts. So how do you use the custom fonts? Let us see what you need to do. So creating the custom font involves a font face attribute. See, creating custom font involves using at font face rule in CSS to define and use the fonts that are not commonly available on the user system. So this Pokemon font is not available on my system. We download it and then we have used it. Correct? So this is the link. From here we have downloaded that font. There are a lot of other websites available. You can use the custom fonts to give your website a unique and distinct typography. And here is the step-by-step process for creating the custom font. First, choose the font. Then download it. Then define, choose and download, or just remove the first step. Download the font, define CSS rule, define font face rule, okay, and apply font. Correct? Apply custom font. So we have downloaded font from here, but you can download it from anywhere. So download the font files Download the font files in the different formats such as WOFF, WOFF2, TTF or OTF, different formats required for the compatibility across the different things. Font face rule. So in your CSS, you need to define the font face rule, correct? The way we have defined like this, a font face. Okay, and applying the font, easy. So if you want to apply the font, whatever font name you have given in the add font face, once add font face rule is defined, you can apply the custom font to specific elements using property. Here you can say you can use it something like this, correct? The way we have used the traditional fonts in the same, right? So we have downloaded the font from this link. I will copy this from this link. Okay, so you can get a reference to that link also. So using this custom fonts using at font face attribute, this is how we will do that, correct? Okay, this is about the custom fonts. Any question do you have? Let me push the code. Custom CSS3 custom fonts. I have pushed the code for custom fonts. Just go through the code. True type is a format, which is nothing but the TTF. Okay. Any question about these things? Okay. Now, a simple topic about CSS, visibility. I can add page visibility. So when you say visibility, what exactly you mean to say? Visibility. I want to visible some element and I want to hide some element. How to do that? Let's go to the day 11 and I can say vs.html, new file vs.css, vs.html and visibility. Let's import the CSS, link rel CSS vs.css, right? We can write everything in a line also. So here we can have a main and inside that we have a div. Let's create dot box width 300 pixel, height 300 pixel, background color shaded blue, background color shaded blue. I think we didn't apply it. Class box. So this is the box. Hello, we have this box with us. Now what? So by default it's a visible, but what I wanted to do, I want to make it invisible. Can you see visibility? Visibility, hidden, inherit, initial, collapse, visible, visible and hidden. Mostly use these are two. Just make hidden and refresh it. It would be hidden, right? It would be hidden from, so what do you mean by hidden? Let's go here. In the main div is there, it is just hidden. It is there, it is just what? Hidden. If you go here, instead of hidden, you can say visible, and this is visible. This box is visible, correct? So box can be visible, box can be hidden. So this is about the visibility property. Well, there is a one more thing by means of which you can manage the visibility, and that part is nothing but what? Display colon none. Display colon none. Just refresh it. Display none. And display block. What do you mean by display block? It would be available. Display none, it would be hidden. But there is a significant difference between these two. So when you say display hidden, see here, display none has been, so it seems that they are working same, right? We are going to talk a lot on this display none at the time of DOM manipulation. When we learn the DOM manipulation, at that time we will see this part a lot, right? But it also controls the visibility, but there is a significant difference. We will write it. So visibility. So when you say visibility in CSS3, in CSS3, the visibility property is used to control the visibility of an element on the web page. It determines whether an element is displayed or hidden while still occupying its space in the layout. The visibility property has two values, visible and hidden. Remember that if element is hidden, still the space would be occupied. Remember that still the space would be there, right? It is just a hidden, Now let's go here. We can say -h3 visibility visible. Now what do you mean by visibility visible. It's a default value. By default, all the elements are visible. So what we are trying to do by means of visibility, we are trying to hide and show the elements, right? We are trying to hide and show the elements. So if you see here, the default, this is the default value. It makes elements visible and displays it on the web page. The element is rendered and takes up space in the layout. The element is rendered and it takes space in the layout. So there is one more thing. H3, we can say visibility hidden. Visibility hidden. So this hides the elements by preserving the space. This value hides the element while preserving its layout space. The element is not displayed, but space is there. You need to remember this thing very clearly. Element is there, right? It is just disappeared. Now, using the property visibility, using the property hidden, remember that you can just hide the element. What I'm saying, using the visibility property with the hidden value can be useful when you want temporarily hide the element without affecting overall layout. However, remember that, however, the screen readers, the applications like screen readers will try to find out this element. This element is there. Main concern about the hidden is that element is there, and the screen readers or the accessibility utilities will find out this element, right? So it is important to note that visibility property hides the element content visually. It does not affect the position in the document flow. It is important to note that while visibility property hides an element's content visually, it doesn't affect its position in the document flow. If you want to completely remove the element from the document, HTML document, if you want to completely remove an element from the layout, including its space, you should use the display property with the value none. Remember that display removes the element from the HTML document. Display removes, you can say, this display property with the value none. So this display property removes the HTML element from, you can say, HTML document. So that's why I said we are going to see this thing in detail. We are going to see this thing in detail at the time of DOM manipulation. So first we have seen how it is working, whatever your display, none, visibility, hidden, and other thing, what's happening over here. And then we have written the document. So same approach we are following from the day one, correct? So first we are trying the code and then we are preparing the document. So this visibility related content is important. So presently you know how to show and hide particular element. How to show and hide the particular element, correct? Okay. So this is about the visibility. Let me push the code. Visibility. CSS3 visibility. Okay. So this is about visibility. Now what? We need to move to next topic called as CSS3 layouts. We need to move to the layouts. CSS3 layouts. So let's create the page. CSS3 layouts. So when you talk about the layouts, or we can say layouts, and inside this we will understand few layouts like flex layout, grid layout, right? And before this, I would like to create new topic, that is nothing but CSS3 positions. So whenever CSS3 positions, so first we will understand positions and then layout. But see, positions and layout can be combined to one. So if you want to develop a proper UI, you need to know both the things. Hello? Yeah. What happened to this? Okay, CSS3 positions. So when you talk about the positions, what do you mean by exactly that we will see, and what do you mean by layouting, that also we will see. We'll start, just a minute. Now consider that this is my HTML element, or and I want to develop something like this, a navigation bar at the top. Okay, at the right hand side, or here there is one div, in the center there is one div, right? And similarly like this. So 4 divs like this, one below other, and footer at the bottom. I want to develop something like this, and at here some news section or tweet section I wanted to show over here. Can you see? First you created the layout. Now this fall under creating the layout. So two topics are, whatever two topics we are talking about right now, these two topics can be part of layouts only, right? These two topics can be part of layouts only. How to position the elements? Now what do you mean by how to position the elements? Consider that this is button I have, or let's have a button. So some button we have, consider that this button we have, and what I wanted to do, or let's say start button we have, and what we need to do here, I want to place this button at the top over here, or I want to place this button at the top right, top left, top right, bottom right, bottom left. Getting my point? Hello? So when you talk about such things are such things related to the elements are fall under the positioning, right? Where to position the element exactly, that can be controlled by few layouting options as well. Getting my point? So when you talk about positions, placement of the HTML elements as per your requirement, anywhere inside this or inside this div, inside this div, inside this div, whatever, or at the top here, I want to place this button over here, or I want to place at the center over here. Positioning, this thing is called as what? Positioning. So how to achieve this? Let's try to see that. And new file I can create, pos.html, a new file pos.css, html5, CSS3 positioning, link rel css, pos.css. Now let's have body HTML, body width 100 VW, height 100 VH. Okay, then dot container. Am I audible? Dot container, we can say width 100%, height 100%. Okay, or just reduce it 50%, 50%, and border 1px solid red. Okay, 1px solid red. So we can have one main and class container, correct? Now sorry, one div we need to have, and here we can say dot static box, we can say width 10%, height 10%, width height 10%, background color caded blue, and let us see what happens. Class static box. Okay, not VS. File name should be changed. POS. Can you see this? This much is your box, and there is a one, this box over here. Now I can add one property over here, position static. Position static. Now what do you mean by position static? We will see. I will copy same thing and relative box. Relative box. Okay, width and height. Aquamarine or brown we can say. And here position relative. Position relative. And I'm giving from the top 10 pixel and from left 30 pixel. Let's create another box. A relative box. Can you see? From the top 10 pixel and from the left 30 pixel. From the left 30 pixel. Just a minute. Yeah, so let's create another box. Now, a relative box. And we can say absolute box. Absolute positioning. Everything would be same. Absolute. Everything would be same. Absolute. And instead of brown, let's change the color to the blue violet. Top 10, from the top 10 px and left 80 px. Width 10%, this 10%. Position is absolute and something like this. Say that again. Yeah, so here absolute. Absolute box. Refresh it. Width height 10%, 10%. Position absolute. Absolute box. Absolute box. See here. So this is which box? Static box. Then we have a relative box. And then we have absolute box. Now just position relative. Yeah. Now we have absolute box. See. Now why I have written this thing, I will explain little bit later on. Static box, relative box, absolute box. Now there is something called as fixed box. Another kind of thing. Fixed box. Just a minute. So when you say fixed box, 10%, 10%, position fixed, instead of blue, violet, chocolate. And top also ATPX, ATPX. Static box. No, sorry. Which box? Fixed box. Fixed box. Can you see? Everything is getting moved. Hello? But that box is fixed. What do you mean by fixed box? At the fixed location. I'm trying to move, but the box is at the fixed location. Width 10%, 10%, and this thing. Now, sticky box. One more thing. Sticky. 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 Position, what? Sticky. And background color. Chart reuse. Okay, I didn't add it actually. Sticky box. At the same position, let's change the position. 180 pixel by 180 pixel. If you see, fixed is remaining fixed. Fixed is remaining fixed. And rest of the things are changing. But it's not like that. There is a meaning. Okay. So let's try to understand this first, whatever we have typed. How many positions are there in CSS? How many positions are there? You can say CSS3 provides a different ways to position the elements. Different positioning methods to control the layout and positioning of the elements on the web page. Here are main position values: static, relative, absolute, fixed, and sticky. Right? What is the static positioning? What is the static positioning? Static relative, absolute, fixed, sticky. So when you say static, what do you mean by that? This is the default value, natural ordering. Default value. Elements are positioned according to the normal document flow. It will not do anything else. Natural flow. Right? Then relative, what do you mean by relative? Allows you to adjust an element's position relative to its normal position in the document flow. relative to normal position in the document flow. Other elements will occupy by the original space. Other elements will still occupy the original space. Now see here, go to the output. Can you see this guy? So this is the static, and second guy, this one is relative. This is the relative. Now can you see below this element, so 10% or 10 px from this cadet blue, 10% top, 10 pixel top. Can you see here? Top 10 pixel. From whom? From this. And left how much pixels? 30 pixels. And left 30 pixels from this. Correct? 10 pixels from this, 30 pixels from this. Top and left. Top 10 pixels. And these are the 30 pixels away. Correct? This is the 30 pixels away. Now absolute is what? See, absolute will not worry about other elements. Absolute will begin from this one. Left 80 pixels. So this much is the 80 pixels and this much gap is the 10 pixels. Right? Absolute takes the element, here you can say absolute, takes the element out of the normal document flow and position it relative to the nearest position ancestors or the contained block. Useful for creating the overlays or precisely positioning elements with the container. So when you say absolute, relative, relative means what? See, again see, this is the relative, and so this guy is statically fixed. Okay, hello. So to explain this, let's have a button, this button. If this button is placed over here, naturally where next button would be placed? Over here, correct? It will not overlap on this. A new button will not be placed over here, correct? So this is the button. And if you want to place the new button, next button would be placed over here in the HTML. Now, if you apply the relative positioning, and you say 10 pixel from the top, so 10 pixel away from the top and 30 pixel away from the left for the natural positioning. This is what the natural positioning, understood or not? So this button and this button. So where this button would be placed naturally? Below that start button, and you are saying that 10 pixel away from the top. So this is the 10 pixel away from the top and 30 pixel away from the left. This is the 30 pixel away from the left. This is the relative positioning. You know, absolute says that, what absolute says that takes the element out of the normal document flow and position it relative to the nearest position ancestor. Now see here. So nearest position ancestor. Who is the nearest position ancestor? Where is the HTML? For this absolute, who is the nearest position ancestor? This main container. Yes or no? To the absolute, who is the nearest position ancestor? This main container. So it will work relative. As per this ancestor. Now see, if you say 0px and 0px, it will exactly overlap on the cadet blue. Can you see? Why? Because it is relative to, absolute is relative to the ancestor, and that's why it will overlap. So when you talk about absolute will say that who is my parent. As per that parent, I am going to get position. right? So if already element is there, if there is already an element, and if you want to create a new element and position is absolute, it will overlap. Or 10 pixel away, for better understanding, I can add shape as a, for better understanding. Let's add, this is your main container. This is the main container we have. And see, in the relative position we have seen relative to this element, but absolute says that who is a nearest container, this outer container. So it will position top left according to this container's positioning. Got it or not? And that's why if you say 0 px from the top and 0 px from the left, and if already one of the element is there, it will position on to that, which will create kind of overlay. Understood or not? Relative, you can say, if this element is already added relative to this element, relative to the natural flow, natural ordering. So where naturally this element would be placed? Over here. So 10 pixel from the natural ordering over here and 30 pixel away from the natural ordering, like this. Relative. Absolute says that natural ordering only, but relative to the parent. Who is the parent? This div. Outer container is the parent, and that's why it changes. Now fixed, it is very clear. No matter whatever happening on the screen, it will remain fixed. It will remain what? Fixed. So let's write about the fixed also. So this is a highly important topic. Okay, when you say fixed, positions the element relative to the viewport. Even if page is scrolled, even when the page is scrolled, useful for creating elements that stay fixed in the specific location when the user scrolls. Now here, sticky behaves like a relative only. Sticky is the relative, remember that. Sticky is the relative. Sticky behaves like the relative within the container until user scroll to the certain threshold, and then behaves like fixed. Now for the sticky, I didn't write correct code. So this is not the code for the sticky. So here you can say position sticky, top, just say 0 for the top, 0. And one more attribute I am going to use over here, z index 100. Now go here. Okay, what's the color? Okay, now so presently we don't have a scroll bar actually, or instead of top we can say 20. So we need to add a scroll bar to this. Or let's add and overflow auto. Overflow auto and everything. Okay, mistakenly only one thing should be sticky. Let's try to create the scenario. Let's try to create the scenario. So we can give absolute alt. I am just holding the alt. Absolute. Absolute box. ABSOLUTE. Okay, it's because of the absolute. Make a relative natural flow. Now scroll bars will appear. Now when you talk about sticky, can you see it is attaching, it is getting stick to the top, it is not moving, right? It is getting attached to the top. So top 0, top 10, it will go beyond because of that. -10. Okay, just make a top 0. Start from 0, you are saying. It will stick to the top. You may go on scrolling other thing. Can you see in the background things are getting scrolled and it gets attached to the, it gets stick to the, it sticks to top. Hello? What is Z index? We will see later on. What is Z index? We will see later on. Behaves like a relative within its container until user scrolls to certain threshold, right? Then behaves like fixed. After certain threshold, it behaves like fixed. So this is useful when creating layouts that stick to the particular position, like nav bars, sticky nav bars. So when we create the sticky nav bars, at that time position sticky would be helpful to you. So this positioning is absolutely important. This positioning is absolutely important. Hello? Let me push this much code. CSS3 positions. So how many positions are there in the CSS3? Static, relative, absolute, fixed, sticky. So static, natural ordering. Relative, It's a static only. Static means the default positioning. You don't need to do anything. Relative, it's the natural ordering, but you can give top, left, right, bottom, top, left, right, bottom. Fix means what? It will be fixed at particular location. Sticky, it is just fixed only, but until user scrolls it. Until user scrolls it, it's fixed. Just go through it. Any questions? Is it clear? Position systems in the CSS. Now today's homework. You need to create a system, or you need to create a layout where you can position elements, position HTML buttons, input type buttons in this way. Every corner one button and at the center one button. So this is the homework for you. You need to build a HTML layout where you can place elements in this way. Correct? So I will add it to the homework. This is the homework. Okay. Homework. On this weekend, you would be getting a lot of homeworks. Day 11. Build below layout. Okay. So this thing you need to build. Okay. So that's it for a day. We have covered a lot of things today. We'll meet tomorrow and we'll start layouting options. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. We'll call it for a day and meet tomorrow. Yeah.